Hi, my name is Kevin and welcome to my second atheist web show. Tonight I'm going to be discussing the transformation from theism to atheism. Now, first off, I never thought that religion and science meshed very well, and so I was kind of a ready-made atheist because I didn't really believe much that the Bible told me, but I also, and I easily, whenever I learned something from science, I pretty much accepted it immediately. And one example of me not believing the Bible early on was that I saw a picture of my dad atop a building, and behind him was basically a desert city. And I asked him, "Where was this taken?" And he said, "This was taken in Israel." And since the only time I'd ever heard of Israel was in the Bible, this was before I had world geography, obviously, I'd thought Israel was a fake place. So I asked him, "How did you get there?" And he said, "I walked." So there's that case. And then, of course, I remember I was also riding to church one Sunday, and I was having these scientific thoughts, and I realized that I was about to get to church, so I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm almost at church, it's time to stop thinking these scientific thoughts. So after a while I moved to Texas, and I was no longer under my dad's basically view, but I didn't become an atheist, at least partially because I was afraid of letting go of God, and for another reason, because I thought atheists were inherently douchebags and assholes, and I didn't want to be one of those. But I met a guy who was, funny, he was affable, he was fun to hang out with, and one day I just happened to ask him what religion he was, and I was expecting, some kind of Christian thing, but he said he was an atheist, and it took me aback because I thought that in order to be an atheist you had to be an asshole or a douchebag, and as it turns out that's not the case. So once I got an example of an atheist not being a douchebag, I started really looking at the world, and I noticed that there was nothing in the world that I couldn't explain without God. And I also really noticed that when prayer worked, it was the work of God, and when it didn't, God worked in mysterious ways, and I thought in mysteriously shitty ways. But it still took me a few months of saying, I'm basically an atheist, before I had a few drinks and I just finally came out and said it, at which point it was extremely freeing. I felt really good about it. And I've never looked back, and have, in fact, gone so far as to become an anti-theist, which I'll get into in another video. Anyway, that concludes it. Feel free to comment on your possible conversion from theism to atheism below.